the three countries have always been formed in a very... For example, in Vietnam, there is the Apothai landmark, which is likened to a place where a rooster, when located at the border between Vietnam, China, and Laos. Not only does it hold significance for national, this landmark is also one of the ideal tourist spots visited by many travelers. Not far from Vietnam, there is also a tri-border area. And there's a tourist area for Vietnamese. Not far from Vietnam, there is also an area that is now the border of Laos, Thailand, and Myanmar. However, mentioning the name of this area often instills fear, and the land of Phai Phat Phoi refers to here as the Golden Triangle, a notorious territory with horrifying stories about illegals, but now, as the golden age of the illegal drug industry, with its refining factories and turf wars, has faded into the past. This location has become one of the fascinating tourist destinations visited by many, and in today's video, going Phai Phat Phoi to explore the Golden Triangle indeed, a land not only famous as the capital of white goods, but also an endless source of inspiration for countries that produce many hit TV series. Geographical location, the important premise that created the... Just as the Mekong River originates from the Qinghai-Tibet Plateau, when flowing southward, it becomes the natural border between Myanmar and Laos, then continues to divide the territory between Laos and Thailand. Another branch, the Ruak River, running from west to east, forms the natural border between Myanmar. On the map, the confluence of the Ruak River and the Mekong River is the shared border of Laos, Thailand, and Myanmar. And this prominent area has repeatedly captured the world's attention, with a focal point named the Golden Triangle. According to geography books, the Golden Triangle area spans about 80,000. However, many sources claim it is as large as 200,000 square kilometers or even 350,000 square. This area does not belong to any specific country but includes the eastern part of Myanmar, northern Thailand, and northwestern Laos. Most of this area lies at an altitude of about 1,000 meters above sea level, so the terrain is with high mountain ranges, dense forests, rivers, and lakes. Therefore, travel here is extremely difficult due to the lack of many constructed transportation routes. However, this has made the Golden Triangle a secluded area hard to find, as it is completely isolated and can pose challenges for outsiders trying to infiltrate. Overall, due to the terrain characteristics and the sensitivity of this shared border, the control of governments over the Golden Triangle was relatively limited in the past, and this contributed to creating a security gap, which became the premise for criminal forces in the Golden Triangle to thrive and develop into a vast network, even extending their tentacles to other regions of the world. The world's most infamous white goods sanctuary, situated at 1,000 meters above sea level, along with ideal soil, and has facilitated the cultivation of opium poppies in the Golden. The opium poppy, also known as Afian or opium, originates from Greece and is commonly grown in Asia and Europe. In medicine, the substance extracted from this plant, when prepared in small amounts, is highly regarded, as it effectively relieves pain compared to other medicinal herbs. However, due to containing components like morphine, codeine, papaverine, or heroin, it is also used to produce white goods. In the mid-20th century, the cultivation and production of white goods in the Golden Triangle exploded on a massive scale. It was impossible to accurately calculate the quantity of these goods produced here annually. However, according to statistics from the United Nations Office, by 1990, the opium poppy cultivation area in the Golden Triangle region had reached over 180,000, accounting for more than two-thirds of the total nearly 263,000 hectares. Along with the intersection area of Afghanistan, Iran, and Pakistan known as the Golden Crescent, the Golden Triangle became one of the two largest illicit white drug production areas in Asia. However, before the Golden Triangle and Golden Crescent emerged and gained fame, China was actually the country that dominated the world's opium production. Specifically, from the 17th century, and especially in China became a lucrative target for colonial powers to divide. And colonial countries sought every means to open its doors wide through the trade of white goods, as it was a commodity that brought enormous profits. Overall, the opium scourge severely damaged China's economy and society. The amount of banned substances imported into China increased from 13 tons in 1729 to 64, and rose to 640 tons in 1820. By 1838, this figure had even surged to 2,500 tons, when measures applied to prevent the flow of opium into the country failed. And under the pressure of the People's Movement demanding a ban on opium, the Chinese government decided to act, leading to the two Opium Wars between this nation and the British Empire. But at that time, the Chinese government was too weak and could not withstand the provocations from the British side. As a result, the influx of banned substances into the country, and simultaneously, China also became the world's largest, with the country's output of poppies. Thus, China also became the world's largest opium with an average annual output from 1904 to 1908 of about 100,000 tons. With the momentum of colonial economic development, the flow of Chinese migrants, on a small scale in the late 18th century, gradually increasing in the mid-90s and becoming a massive wave by the early 20th century. Most Chinese chose to settle in Southeast Asian countries, as these were places where it was very easy to find employment. Opium and the use of opium spread widely throughout this region. Additionally, after the victory of the Chinese Communist Party in 1949, led to the establishment of the People's Republic, this caused remnants of Chiang Kai-shek's forces to flee to many areas of Southeast Asia, including the Golden Triangle region. A portion of the troops who stayed here made a living by producing and trading opium poppy. Gradually, ethnic minority groups living in the Golden Triangle such as the Aga, Shan, Laos, also began learning to cultivate and harvest this plant. Because it brought huge profits and could help them cover their living expenses. In a short time, white goods spurred the economy. But this remote area to develop rapidly. By the 1950s, the opium poppy output here had reached nearly 600 tons. Possessing rugged mountainous terrain and being located at the border from the Golden Triangle, opium in raw or refined form would be transported to international towns. Over 90 years, the majority of white goods were transported to Vietnam, almost all originating from the Golden Triangle. Additionally, they were also smuggled by air to the United States, specifically to the state of California. From here, white goods would be transported and distributed throughout the country of the United States. Moreover, due to its proximity to the Golden Triangle region, India's population regarding the quantity of white goods passing through this country, particularly in the north. However, the white goods smuggled here are not for large-scale trade, but mainly serve local demand. A place that once existed as a white kingdom. Looking back decades to the Golden Triangle, it was not hard to encounter images of caravans pulled by donkeys or horses trudging along mountain trail to transport opium to collection points or hidden refineries deep in the old forests. Accompanying these caravans were always armed protection gangs. From here, disputes and bloody settlements. To monopolize this lucrative source of goods among gangs and further making the security situation in the Golden Triangle uncontrollable for many. This area is particularly associated with the world's most notorious drug lords, and among them, the most powerful was Kun. The secret of the Golden Triangle. Who directly participated in the case of dismantling the white goods trafficking region, partially unveiling the secret life. It can be said that to this day, Kun Saw remains the most infamous criminal lord in the history of the Golden, as he controlled a vast empire for decades. With a private army and the dream of establishing an independent state separate from the Myanmar. According to various sources, Kun Saw was born on February 17, 1933, with a real name John Kifu. Born into a family where his father was a Kuomintang officer, and his mother was a Shan ethnic from Myanmar. Due to his father's early death, his mother remarried a Shan man in Mong Pin town, near the border with China. Opium. Later, when Saw became famous and aimed to establish a Shan kingdom, people began calling him Kun Saw. In Thai and Shan languages, Kun means lord, referring to a respected person. With the goal of establishing his own Shan kingdom, Kun Saw allied his tribe with the Kuomintang to oppose the government. But by 1962, realizing they had no political ideals and only exploited the opium farmers, Kun Saw ceased cooperation. In 1968, during a battle with the Myanmar army, this drug lord was captured and imprisoned in Yangon. During his imprisonment, Kun Saw nurtured the ambition to build his own state. Thus, upon regaining freedom, he gathered forces and used nationalist sentiment to encourage tribes like the Shan and China in the Golden Triangle region to establish an independent Shan state, and his army was renamed the United Shan Army. Using the Shan region as his territory, Kun Saw's army quickly grew into an armed force opposed. The headquarters of the army was based in Homong, located in Thailand's Mae Hong Son province. In the process of building his own nation, Kun Saw continued to expand in opium, while constructing numerous refineries and synthetic white goods production facilities. In the 1980s, the Golden Triangle was considered the world's drug center, with methods for refining white goods. S empire alone controlled up to 70% of the region. At the peak of his business, Kun Saw owned 15 large refineries. Not only prominent in the drug trade, Hun Sa expanded his influence by gathering and incorporating individual armed groups in Bongshan to form the Long Thai Army, also known as the Bongshan Liberation. The elite force had over 15,000 militiamen, equipped with modern weapons like rifles and head. Khun Sa's career even peaked when, alongside white goods trade, this drug lord also traded gems and weapons. In Bongshan, Khun Sa also established schools, a satellite television station, and conducted drug lord. Leading by example, he enforced strict discipline in the army and imposed harsh punitive laws that forbid subordinates from using these addictives. The White Empire's decline. Best position as the world. Seizing this opportunity, the Myanmar army, with coordination from the Thai and Lao governments, launched a major attack on Corner on January 5, 1996. Khun Sa was forced to announce surrender and was escorted to the capital, Yangon. Although surrendering to the Myanmar government, Khun Sa demanded not to be extradited to the US to avoid prosecution for. After returning to Yangon, Khun Sa lived in a villa and remained there until his death. Despite efforts by the Myanmar, Lao, and Thai governments to eradicate opium cultivation and the trade and trafficking of white goods. Even after Khun Sa's surrender and the collapse of this drug empire, the Golden Triangle has never been. With many sophisticated and ruthless bosses and networks still not only producing and trading white goods, criminal groups in the Golden Triangle also engage in robbery, extortion. In March 2013, China executed Myanmar drug lord Na Kham for the 2011 massacre of 13 Chinese sailors. Accordingly, Na Kham and his accomplices hijacked 2 Chinese cargo ships, then shot everyone on board and dumped the bodies in a section of the river flowing through Chen. According to authorities in various countries, since China intensified border trade with Myanmar, dozens of similar incidents to the 2011 case have occurred on the Mekong River. Since then, China, Laos, Myanmar, and Thailand began conducting joint patrols along them, with the mission of inspecting and suppressing crime to ensure safety and stability along the Mekong River, particularly in the famous what remains of the Golden Triangle today. In the 2010s, there was a strong resurgence of white goods in Afghanistan. The Taliban established transportation and distribution networks for this commodity with criminal groups in Eastern Europe, North Asia. This caused the Golden Triangle's white goods to lose their advantage in these markets and now completely lose the Laos, the emerging casino empire. Currently, besides banned substances, the Golden Triangle Special Economic Zone in Laos, with the King's Roman Casino at its heart owned by Zhao Wei, has emerged as a powerful gambling empire. In 2007, the King's Roman Group began focusing its efforts and started its operations. The King's Roman Casino, owned by Zhao Wei, has emerged as a powerful gambling empire in this long trail of land. In 2007, the King's Roman Group signed an agreement with the Lao government to cooperate in developing a tourism area in the Golden Triangle. 3 years later, the Lao Prime Minister signed a decree officially establishing the Golden Triangle Special Economic Zone and leased 3 up. To this day, the most attractive feature and economic driver of the Golden Triangle Special Economic Zone remains King's Roman, a massive casino literally described as the precious gem. The giant crown-shaped structure on the casino roof can even be seen from Thailand. Currently, it serves mostly tourists from mainland China and some foreign tourists from countries like Myanmar. Besides being incompatible with local culture, this gambling empire has become a breeding ground for numerous illegal business. In January 2018, the U.S. Treasury Department placed Zhao Wei on. Accordingly, he and his King's Roman company were accused by the U.S. of using corporate fronts to conceal criminal activity, including transporting white goods, human trafficking, prostitution, money laundering, right? In other words, King's Roman Group is an organized crime syndicate. International officials, particularly from the U.S., expressed concern that Laos might have made a deal by allowing a drug lord to control the entire border area. This would contribute to increased production and export of illegal white goods in the Golden Thailand, moving towards ecotourism. To date, efforts to build a Golden Triangle that breaks from its past and becomes a peaceful land with fascinating attractions. or perhaps the hope and goal that many countries in the region are striving. A typical example is Thailand's attempt to develop its northern region towards ecotourism and environmental protection. To achieve economic development and improve the livelihoods of locals, perhaps many tourists choose the Golden Triangle as a destination partly because they're fascinated by the tech. Once an area under the control of the notorious warlord Khu, now Chiang Rai province has witnessed unprecedented transformation. Perhaps the golden age of Thailand's wine goods industry is gradually. Today, poppy fields have been replaced by tea plantations, along with modern infrastructure built not only to serve residents, but also to meet the needs of tourists visiting here. From 2010 to 2017, it's estimated that like other regions in Thailand, Chiang Rai is also home to many impressive temples and pagodas. One of the most talented among them are called Wat Rong Khun in Thai. In contrast to the famous Golden Temple, Wat Rong Khun stands out by being entirely painted in. Along with that is an architectural style that is both modern and deep. In addition, to reflect the history of opium poppy cultivation, as well as its political, economic, and social influences. This is truly special. As well as the influences of resources and their impacts on politics, economy. Thailand has built the world's unique opium museum in Chiang Rai. The impressively designed museum will introduce visitors to a comprehensive overview of opium history, trading period. The purpose of building the museum is to educate, especially the youth, to better understand the crimes and harms of. Inside the museum, many photos, models, and objects used for smoking. In addition to a separate room with a large interactive screen for visitors to learn about the historical opium trade. Notably, the short film screenings also include narration, suitable for different ages and nationality. Myanmar, struggling in the battle against. With strict management and patrols by authorities, the area of opium poppy cultivation in Laos and Thailand has significantly decreased. Particularly in Myanmar, due to remote, inaccessible deep forests and mountains and being home to many. It is also controlled by ethnic armed groups and separatist rebel forces. So although the government has made many efforts, such as the government established after the 2012 and 20
has opened the market to attract foreign investment flows.
Many households that previously only knew how to grow opium poppies to survive now have. They can leave their fields to become workers or switch to higher value crops and livestock. However, Myanmar still cannot completely control the cultivation. Partly also because the Taliban in Afghanistan repeatedly declared they would eliminate opium poppies, causing the price of this commodity to rise sharply. In January 2023, according to the UNODC report on drug and crime control, due to economic difficulties, many Myanmar people, especially in Shan State and the Golden Triangle, have returned to growing opium. In the crop season from 2021 to 2022, the cultivation area of this plant increased to over 40,000 hectares with it simultaneously creating an economy worth $10 billion.
In recent years, Myanmar has replaced Thailand as the refining center in the Golden Triangle
and become the world's second largest drug producer after Afghanistan. This place serves as both a safe haven and a drug distribution center for banned substance trafficking gangs. The period from 2014 to 2018 was perhaps why the drug lords were most aggressive in building for synthetic drug production and synthetic substances, products that don't rely much. Ecstasy, also known by base as Yaba, is currently the most produced synthetic drug because it's cheap and addicts find it hard to. In January 2023, Thai police busted a $45 million crystal meth trafficking. The investigation began when soldiers at a border checkpoint discovered 980,000 meth hidden in tea packages and stuffed into the. The captured smugglers confessed that they were transporting drugs from processing centers in Myanmar to Lechudang Port City. Currently, this complex area is also a gathering place for rebel factions, including the Myanmar. And this force, along with two other rebel groups, the Iraqi Army and the Thai National Liberation Army, formed an armed alliance called the BRUT to carry out attacks against the government army, risking civil war in this Southeast Asia. Overall, while drugs no longer monopolize the Golden Triangle as in Khun Sa's time, Their influence on Myanmar certainly cannot be completely resolved yet. Because opium poppies are still considered a profitable crop that helps people escape. And that is information about the Golden Triangle, an area once famous as the opium. What are your thoughts about this area? Please leave comments within 5 minutes and share with us.
Hello and see you again in the next videos.